My Blood, the Ink. Episode 3. The 7 Sovereigns.
So this is the bottom of the ocean. I wonder if I can get a Nobel Prize for exploring this deep. Except, I can't exactly tell them how I got to the bottom of the ocean, and I wouldn't be able to recreate the experiment. I can't just say, hey, Nobel Committee, I just got back from the bottom of the Atlantic, and it's made of a really weird green mist. Medal, please. No, they just say, we, the committee, recommend that you be committed. Seems I must hide my discovery. To be burdened with genius. While I'm talking to myself, I think this is a good time to reflect on the fact that I think I just died and then came back to life and magically transformed. Okay, with that out of the way, I should figure out why this magic ring dragged me all the way down here. Maybe there's something hidden? Like some ancient magical artifact lost to time that I'm the first to discover. Or, I guess, rediscover. Let's see. Unhand me! Where are my arms? Immediately it becomes clear that what I thought was the bottom of the sea is not the bottom of the sea, because it's almost impossible to describe what I see beneath me. There are domed structures of glass and gold. Shells the size of whales are stacked on top of each other, converted into abodes, complete with windows, doors, and roofs, homely light shining from within. There are scores of carbon fiber glass tubes that connect the various buildings made of stone, coral, glass, and shell. Other tubes form mazes, vertical, parallel, perpendicular spirals of glass filled with people, floating within them, headed to wherever. Bioluminescent trees sprout from depths I can't see, swaying in time with the currents. Beneath me, the largest submarine I have ever seen floats past with a city on its back, floating by entire towns carved into the edifices of mountains. There are fish, whales, turtles, squids, and other beasts I cannot recognize, let alone name, swimming alongside mermaids, all of them swerving to avoid all manner of motorized cars and cycles that somehow exist in the here and now, here and now. I am struck by how bright it is, assaulted from the noise of it, unmoored by the scale of it, moved by the colors and shapes and textures, both familiar and foreign to me. The ocean is so completely, surprisingly, and majestically alive. Somehow I have fallen into the depths of the sea and landed in the future. And that's when I feel it again. The vortex of air in my lungs begins to swirl once more, and there is a burning in my veins. In the same way flame chases a trail of gunpowder, joy snakes through my body, lighting me up from within before exploding from my mouth in a fit of uncontrollable laughter. Magic! Impossibly, I found it once more. How's that for a story worth telling? I'm slowly pulled from my reverie when I notice 3 shapes hurtling towards me at breakneck speed. Before I can move or react, I'm wrapped in the tail of a massive sea dragon. I can feel the warmth of his body pulsating through the cascades of blue, green, purple, and silver scales that bind me. The other shapes have appeared to either side of me. To my left is a fierce-looking, bare-chested, middle-aged Asian man with bands of golden gauntlets upon his intimidating arms, a 3-tiered crown upon his head, and a long, impressive-looking sword he swiftly brings to my throat. His eyes dance wildly, perfect partners to the bloodthirsty grin painted along his face. To my right is a golden chariot drawn by seahorses twice the size of their terrestrial counterparts. They carry a beautiful blonde woman, her hair drawn up into a messy bun, one hand on the reins of the chariot, the other on a whip. She continuously cracks threateningly towards me. She eyes me fiercely from beneath the crown that sits upon her brow. The man and woman each stand 10 feet tall, but the dragon, whose tail has locked me in an embrace, is easily 3 times that. Feathery fins grow all over his body, with branch-like tendrils, at the ends of which are small glowing bulbs. He's a fierce dragon, and the scales and bones of his head form a craggy diadem that is lit from within with a reddish glow.
And who might you be?
More importantly, how did you get past the barrier?
I suddenly feel lightning in my skull as a series of images flash in my mind. I see the man before me lowering his sword, the woman peeling away on her chariot, and then a massive building in the shape of a mechanical sea turtle. Within the mechanized beast is a room filled with 7 statues and 7 shining figures. I exhale once the onslaught of images end and notice that the sword has returned to the man's sheath. From the corner of my eye, I see the woman bow towards the dragon before cracking her whip, flicking the reins, and taking off in her chariot down towards the city. It dawns on me then that the images were how the dragon spoke. And while he never said their names, there was part of me that now knew the woman was Solacia, and the man, Susanoo. I wriggle in discomfort, and the dragon responds by wrapping his coils around me even tighter.
Do not even dream of moving. If you so much as breathe too deeply, I will behead you before you can exhale. Blink, if you can understand. Glad we are on the same page.
We begin our descent towards the underwater kingdom right out of an Asimov novel, and I watch how the presence of Susanoo and the dragon change the energy. Everything and everyone slows. The vehicles stop, leaving room for us to pass, and every living thing, even the trees, seem to bend toward them in fealty and respect. As we dive, I make out the enormous sea turtle I saw when the dragon spoke. The turtle's shell is made of glass, its legs and tail of stone, and its head is a glowing, whirling mass of technologies I can't begin to describe. Images dance across the shell, each plate projecting faces and battles and various geographies I don't recognize. Carved into the stone legs are glowing Celtic symbols that shift and crawl lazily across the stone. In fact, now that I look closer, there is Celtic iconography everywhere. An aesthetic that feels jarring considering the scientific futurism of the kingdom. We swim over a bridge and enter the building as the turtle snaps us up into its mouth. After a few moments of darkness, traversing through a tunnel, we enter a marvelous and breathtaking hall. The first thing I notice is the opulence. There are columns of blue and gold taller than the beings that have me in tow, chandeliers the size of my living room, and priceless jewels the size of my fists embedded into stone walls. Hall after hall, we pass rooms of ever-increasing grandeur and others of mind-bending technological advancement. There are floating holograms, consoles that light up as squids and merfolk tap controls with ease and confidence as they laugh with one another. My life continues to change with each moment I spend in the sea, but for them, it's just another day at the office. Finally, we enter a room home to 7 sculptures. I recognize 3 of them as my captors, but can't place the rest. One looks benevolent, one distrusting, another proud and noble, the other gentle and young. We pass through the statues and face a barren wall made of platinum. The dragon leans in and touches the base of his crown against it, and with a soft chime, the wall slides apart, and we enter a throne room. The scientific marvels that define most of the kingdom I've seen so far do not extend here. It's built like an amphitheater, massive and made of sea stone. There's an upper ring that houses an occupied throne every few feet, and a circle at the base of the room that I assume was made for patrons, guests, and prisoners of the court. I look around at the massive figures looking down at me. Up and to my left is a Polynesian woman who looks to be just a few years older than me. She stares at me excitedly before slowly drawing a line across her neck, as if prophesying my impending doom. She holds the pose for a moment, before laughing and waving it off as a joke.
I'm kidding. You're fine. Maybe.
Susanoo settles into the throne next to her, startling me as I realize I never even saw him move. He's hunched forward, both hands resting on the sword he twirls menacingly into the ground, his eyes boring into me. After seeing him, I search for Solacia and find her to my right between two others. Her chariot has converted itself into her seat of power, and she is draped in it leisurely, the side of her face resting on an arm placed on the chariot's guardrails. To her left is an Asian boy that looks to be about 14. He's dressed in a beautifully embroidered hanfu of pink and blue with a leather satchel draped across him that rests on his hip. He reaches for the staff leaning upright against his throne and tries to lay it across his lap, but the staff is too long and the arms of his seat too high for the rod to make contact. He blinks and shakes his head with a small, embarrassed smile before returning the staff to its upright position. I look past Solacia's chariot throne to see someone whose face is obscured by a thin, flat piece of metal the size of a book.
I can confirm that whoever this is not supposed to be here.
The device lowers, and I see a white man my father's age glaring furiously at me. His silvery tresses cascade down his back, and he sports a thick, braided beard. There's a swirling blue tattoo of Celtic design on the side of his face that flows above his brow and below his knee.
Understood, Mannanan. We shall settle the matter shortly.
Directly ahead of me is a striking figure exuding divinity and royalty. At first, I'm confused when I can't distinguish if they are man or woman, until I finally realize that they are both. Like a ripple distorting a reflection on a still lake, they oscillate back and forth between male and female aspects. It is a subtle, almost indiscernible difference, heralded only by a delicate change in facial structure and the pitch of their voices. They both sport rich mahogany skin, dark brown hair braided and beaded with bits of wood and shell. Their robe matches the intricate beadwear in their hair, and they hold a shimmering golden trident in hand.
You may let him go, old friend. Come take your throne before you suffocate the poor creature. First, tell us your name and how you penetrated the barrier. What business do you have in Atlantis?
This is Atlantis? As in the lost city of?
The one and the same. Your name and business, please.
Apologies, great ones. My name is Dante Winston Taylor, and in truth, I'm not entirely sure how I came to be in your most wondrous lands. Not too long ago, I was traveling on one of my father's ships to start this exhilarating new chapter of my life and see the world when a storm hit and destroyed the vessel. I drowned, I'm assuming along with everyone else. I'm not sure how anyone else could have survived that. For a moment, I was sure that I had died, and I think that I did, but this ring started to glow, and it filled me with this warmth. My body transformed, somehow acclimatizing itself to the sea. Then the ring dragged me down to what I thought was the bottom of the ocean, but once I started feeling around the mist, my arms were sucked in, and then my entire body, and pretty much immediately after that, I was welcomed by a few members of this illustrious body, and that's when I was brought before you. So as far as what business I have here, would unplanned tourism count?
So if I understand it, please Let me know if I get this wrong. Your story is that you stowed away on a ship to see the world. Said ship capsized, you drowned, and somehow revived and transformed, and then led here. All through no volition of your own.
You know, that's a very succinct way of putting it, and sounds more than a little absurd hearing it back, but yeah, that's...
It does it not?
Sound absurd? Yes. Yes, but I suppose the truth really is stranger than fiction.
You've a clever tongue.
Thank you.
That was not a compliment.
Oh.
It's ones like you I trust the least. You preen and posture and say just the right thing, just the right way to just the right person, twisting truths as deftly as we do tides.
Ignore him, Dante. While the rest of us are out fighting enemies, Mannanan is usually off somewhere strangling joy and mutilating humor.
And just what enemies would you all be fighting? If that's all you do for work, would it seem my barrier has put you all out of a job?
Excuse me.
What an interesting perspective. Especially considering we wouldn't all be sitting here if your barrier was as infallible as you make it seem.
She's got you there.
If we're done, I'd like to get back to the task at hand. Namely, the one where we extract the truth from this man that likely hasn't displayed a moment of sincerity since he began speaking. His story is absurd, and on the slight chance that it is true, think of what that would mean for our security. Outside creatures summoned directly to Atlantis, skipping past the barrier. If that kind of situation is possible, then there's no telling the chaos that would ensue.
What do you propose?
Excuse me?
Let me take him. I'll discover the truth one way or another.
Excuse me.
What is it, Tamko?
I need to examine him more to be sure, but there is something strange about his body.
Like what?
There's an entanglement of energies inside of him, as well as some subdural anomalies that could indicate a forced transfiguration.
If it counts, I did ferry about a dozen souls from around where Koi found him.
Solacia.
I fell 3 dozen ships today.
There was a time you do that in an hour.
There was a time you were something other than an ale-soaked, bumbling idiot. But it seems time dulls even the sharpest of blades.
You are mistaken. It is not ale I imbibe. Rather, it is the blood of my enemies. I let it ferment a little, so it dances on my tongue the way it did when I first claimed victory over them. Would you care to test how dull my blade is?
In front of company? You're all classless, the lot of you.
You just insulted Mannanan in front of company.
Yes, but that was to make our guests more comfortable. It's completely different.
Why don't we save the bloodlust for exhibition, and let's retire the insults for now as well? Solacia, did any of the ships you destroyed sink near where he was found?
Just one. Only reason I remember is because I was disappointed by their screams. No one begs for their lives like they used to.
It is because you get to the killing too quickly. You must slowly raise the temperature on their fear. Make them think they have a chance, and then... right when they are sure they are going to make it, you conjure the largest wave they have ever seen. Add some dancing shadows onto the side that is facing them. Throw in some dolphin squeals and you get screams like you have never heard before.
How long does that take?
I usually aim for an hour. 2, at the most.
Pass.
Art takes time.
Right there, on your left hand. What is that mark?
This. I was...
No. Let us keep that between us for now.
You were...
Yes. This. I can't say. Maybe a birthmark? Been there as long as I can remember.
Whatever it is, it displays a magical signature unique to the one affecting the rest of his body. Neither originate from within him, but the larger signature, the one responsible for his transformation, is familiar to me.
And yet we sit and laugh, waxing on about the blood of our enemies, while one stands before us. He claims to be an ignorant mortal, yet has 2 magical signatures, neither of which belong to him. Is that not the very definition of suspicious? He is undoubtedly an agent of Neris. And the more time we spend prattling on about nonsense, the longer whatever plan she has set in motion takes hold. I ask again that you remand him into my care immediately.
Mannanan is right to preach caution. However, Koi Valu says the mark carries with it a scent he used to remember. He knows that it is old.
Ooh, how ominous. This is fun. I like this.
I beg of you all, let's not waste even more time on the charade. Neris is...
You invoke her name a lot, considering she's a mere nuisance.
You have the luxury to think of her only as a nuisance because I've foiled her plans time and again. It takes only one success for her to do permanent, lasting damage.
Olokun?
Yes.
I think the magic that transformed him might be yours.
Gasp! This keeps getting better.
I see. This aligns with something I've suspected. I shall myself determine whether or not the mortal speaks the truth. You're doing very well, Dante.
Am I? I'm not so sure. Part of me thinks I've died and I'm in the great beyond. Another part of me thinks I'm still drowning and this is all a fever dream my mind is concocting as it desperately yearns for air. Another part of me wants so badly for this to be real, but if it is real and you all decide to kill me, then no matter what option is true, I'm either dead, dying, or about to die.
Fear not, little one. If I'm right, and I usually am, you shall not die today. Will you trust me?
It's strange. Although we're both speaking aloud, there is an intimacy between us. A silence amidst this aquatic cacophony of bubbles and waves that tells me we're speaking to each other and each other alone. Though I can't begin to know why, I register a suspicious lack of fear. There's a disconcerting absence of the bone-deep terror I should be experiencing as I'm surrounded by gods. But whether my emotions are still stunted, still in hiding from the trauma that fried them a few months back, or whether it's an unforeseen consequence of my death and subsequent resurrection, all I can muster towards this divine being currently holding on to me is admiration and wonder. I think I would do anything for you.
Be careful to whom you pledge fealty. Though we can't seem to tell who, it seems you've already been chosen by another. Now close your eyes. And while I have your trust, I must also seek your consent. For this spell, I need a strand of your hair.
Just one? I'm a little young to start developing bald spots.
Just the one.
Okay, then. Permission granted.
Thank you. Now close your eyes. It is easy to look out upon the sea and in its magnitude think it to be one great thing. But in truth it is an orchestra, a congregation of trillions of droplets and innumerable particles that work and move together in holy concert to form the whole. In much the same way, humans believe themselves to be singular beings having a singular experience. I sense that even you felt that way when you tried to leave your life behind. But do you want to know the truth? You are never alone. Open your eyes and see all those that make you who you are. These bubbles I have conjured on your skin, as small as pins, represent the spirits of those that have come before you. And now we ask them to stand together, forming visages of your ancestors, both living and long since gone. Look at how many there are. You are here in spite of them and because of them. Your body itself is a historical tome and a menagerie of spirits. But come, we've got just a bit more work to do. Hail, ancestors! Look into this room and see the divine that sit before you. If you have praised us, if you have walked with us, spoken with us, or even loved us, then come forward and make yourself known. Make those of you with no such connection depart.
If the whole keeping me alive thing was contingent on there being some connection to you all through my ancestors, then things aren't looking too good.
Patience, child.
Creature, take one step closer to me, and I shall end you.
It's perfectly safe, Susanoo. It just means that it knows you. And one seems to know Koi Koi Valu as well. Just give it a moment, and you should recognize the spirit, just as I have the one before me. Hello? I thought it might be you. Oh, how I've missed you. How rare, little one. Not one ancestral connection or even two, but 3 of your kin are known to us. Thank you, spirits. You may now depart. It is as I suspected. He is no spy, and it was my power that caused his transformation.
Would you care to elaborate?
I would not. Susanoo, I know who Koi Koi Valu and I saw, but how are you connected to his bloodline?
It seems he is a descendant of Ifedayo.
Ifedayo? From your old war stories, Ifedayo?
The very same.
Goosebumps.
A mortal suddenly falls through the sea, reveals connections to almost half of the Sepentary, arrives during a holy time that only occurs twice in a millennia, and we're just supposed to... what? Let it go? Carry on business as usual? Let him roam free?
That is quite the string of coincidences.
You are all rightfully concerned with our well-being. However, I do indeed believe us to be safe. It seems that destiny herself seeks to remind us that she is more powerful than us all.
Well then, given this update, I think we should do it.
This is hardly the time.
I think this is the perfect time. We're in the midst of the most celebratory, auspicious time that exists for our people. We've got to live up to the moment.
As you say, we're in the midst of a unique and celebratory experience. We're already on guard because of Neris and her outbursts. We should be doing our best to make sure convocation remains secure, not falling into vices of pageantry.
Come now. You're being so short-sighted. We haven't been good hosts. Come to think of it, the mortal probably doesn't even know who we are. Shall we take a vote? Let's see. I'll say yes. Tim will agree with me, as he always does.
I have a mind of my own.
I'm not saying you don't. In fact, I'm saying that you have a good taste and always choose correctly.
Well, all right then.
Tam will agree on account of his good taste, and Susanoo will also say yes, as he can never run away from an opportunity to display his might.
Correct.
Mannanan, you'll say no because of the aforementioned strangulation of joy and mutilation of humor. Solacia will abstain because she doesn't care.
You know me so well. I'm flattered.
So let's see. That's 3 yeses, 1 no, 1 absentation. Before we get to Koi and Olokun, I respect how little I know what you two will do.
Thank you.
And what about you, mortal? Now that you aren't going to die, would you like to indulge in the... what did you call it again?
The vices of pageantry.
Yes! The vices of pageantry. What say you, mortal?
Respectfully, I will take all the pageantry y'all have to offer. Thank you.
I knew I liked you. Come now, family. The man has already died once. Should we not give him a show?
What say you, old friend? I agree. Pageantry it is!
Complete waste of time.
Just you wait, Dante. This is going to be amazing.
There is a sudden darkness and silence. Then a slowly shifting and twirling maelstrom of fog. From the mist emerges tall, opaque shapes that slowly grow larger and surround me as they come into focus. In the darkness of this void, I am surrounded by stone effigies of the gods. These statues feel less like stone-rendered portraits and more like talisman, fragments of their divinity and personalities trapped within chiseled rock. Namaka's recklessness radiates from her statue, and I'm nearly bowled over by Susanoo's overwhelming presence. I turn to face the dragon, and I'm forced back. He's carved as if he's been frozen in the midst of an attack, his body taut and coiled, fierce claws extended, moments away from eviscerating whatever prey comes before him. Suddenly, like mouthpieces on marionette dolls, the jaws on their statues drop simultaneously. Water falls from their stone mouths and rushes towards me. Soon I am submerged and feel my body painlessly disintegrate to become one with the sea. I am the sea. I am the sea.
There is a ship crossing me, full of loud, vulgar men who rape and pillage and burn. Cresting through the foam, Solacia, the terrible beauty and queen of storms, rides upon her chariot and cracks her whip. She calls upon me, whipping me into a frenzy, and I push and pull and push and pull until my waves are the size of mountains. She calls down lightning, and together, sky and sea strike down upon the ship with all the fury of the goddess who commands us in perfect, terrible concert. We become a storm that decimates the vessel and cuts short the lives of all on board.
I am the sea.
There are humans standing on my shoreline. A small stone shrine sits at my edge, and the smell of incense fills the air as a priest clad in white baptizes a sickly young girl into me. Tamkum, the king of healing waters, whispers to me sweetly, and I glow in awe of his love and kindness. He tells me to heal this child, and I do. gathering the energy from the life that teems within me to help restore some of hers. The girl rises, full of color, strong and exuberant, and the people on the shoreline cheer and weep, professing their love and thanks to my king.
I am the sea.
There are tears between planes at the base of my body. In the very depths, few ever venture. I am scared that all of me will fall from this plane and into another. Afraid that I will leak life from one dimension into the next. Terrified as I feel the shadows of other worlds rip and claw their way inside of me. But suddenly, there he is. Susanoo, king of tsunamis and guardian of the veil, wields his mighty sword and beats the darkness back. To others, he is violent and unpredictable. But to me, he is my loyal and fierce protector.
Koi Vilu doesn't speak. And yet, amidst the onslaught of images in my mind, it feels like I can hear his voice. He says, I am the sea. I am filled with life. Both the largest creatures the world has ever known and the smallest no eye can ever behold call me home. I am father to beasts, mother to plants, guardians to the stones and coral that breathe so slowly most think them dead. And while most can only hear me surge and twist and run, I hear music. I hear all of life singing praises to him, he who glides within me, my first lover, my first friend. He is my constant, the guardian of all life in the sea. The last dragon. He who was here when life was young. The king of currents. Koi Vilu. I am the sea.
Humans have gathered in me once more. Their bronze skin glows in the sun as they float on boards and drape themselves in ropes of flowers. They sing together as they pour the ashes of their father into me, praying for his safe passage to the other side. She hears the song of her people and she arrives. The chiefess of the Mu and Menehune rises through me to collect the soul offered to her and guide him on his way home. As she swims, she is surrounded by thousands of small silver lights, souls of those who lost their lives at sea, and guides them to meet the angel that waits for them at the bridge. While she ferries the dead, she is the deity most full of life. Namaka, the queen of fierce tides, is the personification of my joy and the very manifestation of my desire to be free.
I am the sea.
There is another metal. Something within me. Another probe from the world of man trying to discover my secrets. They try to colonize me as they have my sister. I can feel the hubris in their curiosity, the depravity manifested in their need to conquer. And I know, if they find my center, the core of me I call Atlantis, that they will never rest until I and all the life within me is destroyed. And then, like a whisper, he is there. He shields me from their prying eyes with his mist. He salvages the scraps and machines they leave within me and transforms them into marvels that surpass what humans can even dream. Mannanan, king of the mist, has built a castle around my heart to protect those I hold most dear.
I am the sea.
I feel her presence, and at once I feel calm. Love radiates from Olokun, and I am lost within it. He caresses me, soothes me, finds every atom of my being, and holds me tenderly and so gently I might break. It is that gentle nature, that firm yet radiant love that endears all guests to my water to her, that can somehow placate even the most tempestuous personalities of this aquatic pantheon. That is why it is he who rules over this convocation, she who unites the gods of the ocean. Olokun, the supreme sovereign, stands before me, glowing trident in one hand, his divine counterparts next to her, once more before their thrones.
And I realize I am no longer the sea. I have returned to the throne room, and I am weeping in sheer awe of those who stand before me, because now I know who they are. The divine septenary, the rulers of Atlantis, the 7 sovereigns of the sea. My Blood the Ink is a production of Akeem's Alchemy. Episode 3, The 7 Sovereigns, was written and directed by J.Cottle. The episode featured original compositions by Miguel Landestoy, sound design by Anna Drummond, studio engineering by Tom Nikiper and Carlos Curry, and editing by Lucy Little. This episode featured J.Cottle as Dante, Morgan Beckford as Olokun, J. Connolly as Mannanan, Mika Rose as Tam Kung, Jasmine Garcia as Namaka, Maya Baca as Solacia, and Diji K as Susanoo. My Blood the Ink is executive produced by J.Cottle and Jasmine Garcia. Special thanks to Jordan Leslie. For more information on My Blood the Ink and Akeem's Alchemy, visit us on Instagram at Akeem's Alchemy or our website at akeemsalchemy.com. And remember, no matter how dark it gets, yours is a life worth living and a story worth telling. Until next time,